world really need a 707 horsepower Jeep? That's a question I'm going to try to answer today because I'm in one. And I already know the answer. It's yes! Oh, good Lord. This is the most absurd vehicle on the planet right now, I think. There's no reason for this vehicle to exist. Yet it does because Chrysler is crazy for all things Hellcat. And that's good for the rest of us because that means more and more vehicles are getting to experience the glory that is the supercharged 6.2 liter Hemi V8 engine, the Hellcat motor. Oh man, why is it in a Jeep Grand Cherokee? I don't know and I don't care because it's just so smile-inducing. It's insane. This vehicle is hilarious and absurd and dumb and wonderful all at once. And it's so much power and noise. There's 645 pound-feet of torque to go with the 707 horsepower. So when you come to a stop and you put your foot into it, holy crap. You get so much oral excitement from this, and not oral, but aural, like your ears, A-U-R-A-L. And that's because there's so much whine from the superchargers. It's a 2.4 liter unit sitting on top of the 6.2 liter V8. With their powers combined, they are not Captain Planet, they are Captain Screw the Planet. Now this is a Hellcated beast with all-wheel drive, and that's great too because it means launches are lightning quick because of the grip. It's right there, it's good to go. 295 square setup with Pirellis at, all four corners doesn't hurt as well. There are different driving modes here. We've got the automatic mode, which is typically, I think, 40-60 to the rear in terms of torque split favoring. You go to sport, that turns into 35-60. I just had to do math and I messed up. If you go to sport, that turns into 35-65. And then if you go to full track mode, it's 30-70. So it's always sending power rearward, and more is better, and that's great. There's a custom mode, which I prefer, and when I put it into custom mode, I can adjust the transmission, put it in sport so it's not as violent as it is in track, turn the paddle shifters on. Stability control I set to track, and the all-wheel drive to track so I get the most power going rearward. The suspension in sport, because I don't need it as stiff. It's a Bilstein system that's adjustable in terms of its dampening. And then suspension in sport, because I also don't need that fully stiff. There's already a lot of heft to this steering, but there's not a lot of feel, so I'd rather just it be a bit more comfortable, because this is much more of a long-haul cruiser and a straight-line blaster than a Canyon Carver. Now, it's surprisingly good, though, when it gets twisty. The skid pad rating is close to 0.9 in terms of G's on this, which is really good for a Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's not so good for a vehicle with 707 horsepower. You're just going to want to go straight. Now also, don't try to take this off-road. This is not an off-road Jeep, and that's weird to say, but it's true. There's low-hanging body bits. The front and rear fascias are aggressive. The fog lights are gone. On one side, they're using a cold air intake to help feed the supercharger. On the other side, they are feeding an oil cooling system to help keep temperature down. This is speed and power focused, not dirt and mud fun. Though how awesome would it be if someone took one of these, removed the low-hanging bits of bodywork, raised this up a few inches, and stuck, like KO2s at each corner instead of the Pirellis. Now we would be having a lot of fun off-road, it'd be silly off-road, but on-road, good Lord, this is a fantastic road trip vehicle if you don't mind that you're going to be using a lot of fuel. It's not good. It's not good there in the fuel economy department. I am averaging 9. I'm averaging 9 miles per gallon. And I feel like I could push that lower if I was driving this even harder. It's fun. It's so much fun that you cannot keep your foot out of it because the initial throttle press, let me see if I can clear some space here, shift down a gear, is all supercharger, but then the exhaust just takes over and covers your ears in a wall of sound. Everybody within 20 miles knows, somebody bought a Hellcat Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's just, you can't get over how stupid fun this is. And you're not going to care as much about the fuel economy if you can afford to buy one, period. Because this one is not cheap. The base price is around $83,000, $86,000. This one, as tested, is $90,000. Whew, that's a lot of money for a Jeep. That is a lot of money for a Jeep. That's more than you pay for the Charger and the Challenger Hellcats. We are up there in BMW X5M, Mercedes GL63 money, and this has way more power than any of those. And they're on par, I think, for their performance capabilities. Those are going to be a little bit nicer inside, but this is really nice inside. Jeep Grand Cherokees are very nice vehicles. And then I like what they've done with this one with the carbon fiber, and they've done it really nice how it wraps around from the door, really nicely tucks in to the instrument panel, and then collects here in the center stack. It looks good, and it's the fit and finish is top notch, which is good because you've just paid $90,000 for this. But you're not going to be shouting to the world that you've paid that much, minus, the engine and stuff. But if the vehicle's just sitting there, it's kind of a sleeper, unless you really know you're an enthusiast, you know what you're looking at. Because if you don't, you might miss the two vented nostrils in the hood. You might miss that air intake in the front fascia. You might not notice that the fog lights are gone. You definitely will not miss that it says supercharged on the side. There's a Trackhawk badge out back, and then the rear exhaust setup is far more aggressive. But other than those touches, which are not big touches, the wheels are big. The wheels are big and black, and then the calipers are yellow on this. That's the only color you can get them in on the Trackhawk. Other than those touches, it's fairly sedate for what it is. It's the engine and the noise that does all the talking. Especially when finished in this silver paint. That even lets it blend into other Grand Cherokees even further. If you had this in some bright red, like you see a lot of the SRTs with the 6.4s, those are usually red and they're shouty in your face. This is only shouty in your face when it's wearing this paint with the exhaust, but it is very shouty. It is screaming. It is winning the belching I don't know what it's doing, but it is loud AF. I can't swear. So I'm one of you fellow kids. It's loud AF. But this does get noticed by the people who know what they're looking for. They pull up next to it and they go, "Oh my God, that's the Hellcat Jeep." And they are right, and it's amazing, and they are right to stare. I've seen camera phones come out because this is a unicorn. This is a hilarious oddity of a machine, and it's amazing that it exists. The world doesn't need a Jeep Grand Cherokee with a Hellcat powertrain, but we have it. And we should embrace it. And Chrysler's embraced it. And this isn't just slapping the engine in and saying, "Good luck, everybody." What they've done is they've beefed up all of the parts along the powertrain that need it. From the rear axles, the chain to drive the transfer case to send the power to the front wheels, they used a wider, thicker chain. The sprockets, the gearing, all of that is thicker and stronger. It uses the Torque Flight 8-speed, but even that is beefed up, and it's rated to handle over 800 pound-feet of torque. It only needs to handle 645 here, but if you're going to take this to someone, say, like Hennessy, who's probably going to make it put out 1,000 horsepower, make sure they beef up the transmission as well. But if you're just cruising around town, just like with any Hellcat, you can just comfortably cruise. You're going to hear the supercharger whine. The exhaust is a mild roar if you're just kind of keeping your foot casually in it. And you can drive this comfortably. The seats are excellent. I'm glad this has the Harman Kardon sound system, which is much better than the optional Beats sound system that Chrysler occasionally throws in some of its vehicles. That one is not as good. It's a little too bass heavy. This one is much more properly balanced. So if you care about good sounding music in your vehicle, the Harman Kardon sound system is the way to go. Now, I can't have audio on, one, because I'm doing this, but two, you don't need it on because you just grab the paddles and go. You can't stop smiling when you're driving this. The only time you stop smiling is when you see your fuel light come on. And granted, that happens a fair bit, but it's only you're in, you're out, and you're gone again like a flash, in a very loud flash, thunder and lightning. You can pull up next to exotic sports cars and very expensive machines, and people, give you their snooty looks, and then the light turns green and you absolutely fucking dust them. 0 to 60 is 3.5 seconds. The quarter mile is somewhere between 11.5 and 12 seconds. The top speed, I think, is 180 miles an hour. That is absolutely as delightfully absurd as the rest of this. I got to grab a paddle because the road is just empty. Go down to third. I mean, come on! That's amazing! The only thing I dislike about the transmission is that it seems like it's so shortly geared, is that you're grabbing first, second, third, fourth by the time you hit 60 miles per hour. I'd rather be grabbing second at 60 miles per hour. And I mean, maybe that 0 to 60 time would go even lower, which is bananas. But maybe they geared it short just to get you up into the gears higher to save any semblance of fuel economy. But that's a joke. That is an absolute joke. They do not need to do that. Give us slightly taller gears. Let us see if we can drop that 0 to 60 time. And, fuel economy be damned, because noise be praised. There are a few things in life that are so enjoyable that could lead you towards bad habits. Add this to the list. This is AC/DC. This vehicle is AC/DC. Come to life. Well, AC/DC is a lot, so that's stupid to say. This is AC/DC in car form. I mean, I don't smoke. And after driving a vehicle like this, you might be tempted to pick up the habit, because that's how just brilliant this thing is. I love this thing. It's so dumb, and it's so good. It's like a supercar in that way. Nobody needs a supercar, but everybody at some point in their life should drive a supercar. Everybody at some point in their life, even if you're sitting in the passenger seat about to crap your pants giggling, that's what this vehicle does.